and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, aka Reverend G, and I'm here with you every Monday night at 8 p.m. live on WEMS Radio. Each week, I come to you with guests from different walks of life, different perspectives. We talk about life, we talk about love, and we also talk about spirituality. We talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. How does it support you in your life? What practices are your go to practices? And I like to talk about the spiritual toolkit because I feel that the spiritual toolkit is very personal. We all have the things that support each one of us in different ways. With so many things going on, and every day we wake up and there's something different that we have to deal with. So I like to, support you in just dealing with those things. So my guests, we talk about what works for us. We give you resources. We talk about different ways that you can live your best life. Because my motto is to live your best life in joy with grace and ease. And I practice living my best life. And that's not to say that I don't have my ups and my downs, but life for me turns out to be beautiful because of the way I use my spiritual practices. The way when I find myself in places that don't feel great, I'll stay there for a moment, but I have a way of shifting. And I like to share that. You can find me every day on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta and on Instagram as Rev Grenetta with inspirational messages to get you through to the day. Tonight, I have a very special friend, and I'm so excited to have her here, Mary Catherine George. Mary Catherine is a master of music. She's a PhD. She's a creative. She's a whole lot of things, and I'm excited to connect with her tonight. Conversations with the Reverend G. Hello, Mary Catherine.
Hey, Granetta, how are you? You're looking so gorgeous in that blue.
Thank you. I was so excited when I see your face. I just smile because,
Oh, man.
oh man, we've always just
Well,
had a great connection. Just when
yes.
it's just like kind of flowed. And I think about first meeting you in that choir today. I was like, how long have I known her? And I remember Sanctuary. I had just graduated from seminary, and we had the
Yeah.
choir, right?
Yep. Yep.
Since then we kind of rolled to unity together. We've done a lot of different things after singing in the choir together, and knowing you from just singing in the choir and our connection, when I go and I look at everything that you've done, I was like, oh wow, right? You learn so much more about. And for me, as I read bios and resumes with my guests, I'm like, oh, there's just so much more depth to everything. So I'm excited to have you here tonight. One of the things that was interesting for me was talking about going from a master's in music, right, to a PhD in psychology, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that journey for you.
Well, accidentally, when I was running out of no ability to make money in the mid 90s, I was working with City Opera and was broke, and I needed a job. So my brother happened to be working in the middle of the academic or the middle of the pandemic of HIV, to be honest.
Mhm.
And he said, "Oh, you could work for this doctor." And I'm like, I don't know anything about medicine. Are you kidding me? I'm a musician. No,
Mhm.
no, they'll do it. So I went and met with Dr. Torres at the time, who literally he opened a drawer, a file cabinet, and said, "Here's my research." And I was like, "Okay, well, it's paper. I don't have to deal with blood or
Mhm.
anything icky." So I
Mhm.
just jumped right in, and then ended up, kind of paying for what I wanted to do in music by being able to do research. So I kind of hit a wall when I joined Mount Sinai. I'd been working and became very fascinated by behavior and how people struggle with their health and understanding the complexities of how to deal with their health, especially when it came to pain. So I thought, well, if I ever want to do anything in this field, I better get more numbers or letters behind my name because that's all they want to see, you know.
Right. Credibility, I
So
guess they call it, right?
yeah, they want to know that you know something in your brain. Although I don't know every day. I think I don't know anymore. You just learn the less you do know.
Right.
Um, so I decided to do a health psychology degree. You know, my brother kept asking me, well, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, I'm really going to let God lead me because I don't really know. So, because it was a big endeavor to to take it on. And frankly, when I started, I didn't want to take the GRE. I didn't want to do more testing. I just wanted to start. So I convinced Walden University that my work that I'd done was equivalent to a master's degree in psychology. Wrote a nice little letter and said, please let me in. So they did. They took a chance on me, which I have to say, I do love that university because they're very pro inclusiveness. And that was important to me, and it always has been. And I jumped in. I cried for the first 2 years because God help us, you know, you have to learn to write. And you have to write some more. And it's using a part of my brain that I fight with. You know.
Wait, what's a health psychologist? Give us a little bit. So
Well, you know, one of the problems with our healthcare system is that most people, in fact, over 80% of people truly do not understand their health. And what does it mean? What does health mean? You know, our whole medical system is set up to look at your illness and not really set up to look at your wellness. And so they began putting together a psychology program that really made health and well-being the center of what it is that you focus on and seek to do work in. So you're talking about, oh my gosh, think about how complex we are as human beings. You're doing stuff that you're in your schoolwork that's not focused on counseling, so to say, but how can you help people understand what it means to address health in their life? And also, too, as you go through your lifespan, how do you transition and embrace illness, genetic problems, things that happen? One of the things that happened to me was I suddenly had a small spot of blindness in both of my eyes that occurred. We don't know why. You know, so how do we embrace and still feel hopeful and excited about our life for whatever life we have ahead of us that we're gifted with, so to speak? And that's a challenge because I think a lot of people, they don't tend to think about their health until something's happened that causes them to have a problem. And really, that's not what helps us. You know, it really isn't. We have to find ways to connect how we spiritually feel, how we physically feel, and how we emotionally feel. And that's hard to get when you just go to see the doctor once a year for your checkup.
Right.
So I started that journey, and you know, I'm always driven because, part of me wants to do more in music, which I'm planning to do, but there is this big part of me that feels so driven to help people understand in a deeper way that health is probably the most key component to our existence, because without health, it doesn't matter how much money you have,
Right.
how much time you have,
Right.
how much family you have, how much love you have, because if your health is not in good place, you're constantly challenged.
Yeah.
And I live,
Go ahead.
my husband, who passed away in 2016, he was a daily reminder because he had multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a disease that is so challenging because every different thing happens to those people who
Mm-hmm.
have that disorder. So it was a constant reminder that a lot of it was his mindset, but some of it was not. It was a
Mm-hmm.
real struggle for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I understand how many people have challenges for their health, and their family doesn't know how to support them, how to be there for them, how to just deal with whatever the intricacies are, whether it's the paperwork of going to your health insurance, or it's the process of knowing what kind of rituals to put in place daily for the health of that person. It's a challenge.
I like when you talked about from the wellness perspective, you talked about every aspect of it, right? And not just focusing on the physical aspect. And a lot of it also, because if we just focus on the physical aspect, we create more of what we don't want without the support of how we're thinking, right? Without the spiritual support. All of
Oh,
it goes together to create a like
yes.
this umbrella of wellness is mind, body, and spirit, right? And
Oh,
getting people to
oh yes.
understand the importance that all of that, works together in creating, health.
Definitely. And we're finding more and more in research that it is your mind and spirit that truly can be a humongous driving force. Maybe not to give a person healing, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
but to give someone the idea of how they can get up every day and face whatever is to be faced with a curiosity versus a doomsday approach, with a belief of, I have more to learn about being in this life than just accepting this illness, this condition, this problem. And frankly, I think that can be a big, big hurdle for some people, because it's easy to lose hope.
Yeah,
You,
exactly.
you
And
know,
that
and
that comes in with where your mind is and what you feed your mind, right?
oh,
Is
yes,
so very important in all of that because and what comes to mind for me is I know you work with like chronic pain, right? And I always think the pain is real. But how much emphasis and where do we place the mind and the spirit in supporting? And I would say, as you say, dealing with it every day. If the pain is real and it's there every day, what can we do to support you having your best day throughout that?
it's so individual.
Mhm.
And when I work with patients and I work with family members, I encourage them to explore rituals, gratitude rituals,
Okay.
thanking thanking the air, thanking the water, thanking the light, having gratitude as the key element to bring your mind's attention to is so important, because the negativity that surrounds us is what we're physically, kind of from a human animal perspective, we're tuned into. Because when we were a primitive creature, we had we had the need to watch out for negative things. It was like, let's be on guard, let's keep looking for the negativity. But now we have so many things that are in our world that are so amazing and give us so many opportunities. And we have to recognize that we don't want to go towards that negative, knee-jerk kind of response. We want to go towards that process of relearning that I can change my attitude, I can change my existence by how I change my mind. And that, I think, many people find, if they don't have, and a lot of people don't have a spiritual upbringing or a sense of spiritual, they feel it's hocus pocus, or, and I'm like, well, all you have to recognize is that you're energy and the world around us is energy, and just be grateful for energy.
Yeah. And how that energy interacts with all the other energy, because it's all
yes,
right. The energy.
exactly.
Yeah.
If you can't get into a spiritual place, you can just think of it as your energy. And even if you weren't energy in this body, you will be energy in another type of existence. We don't know what that is so much, but you will, because we know that energy stays energy. That's the physics of it.
And I do talk about spiritual practices from that perspective. Um, like singing, when we were in the choir, I loved choir, right?
Oh, yes.
Like,
I'm telling you,
right.
I miss that. I
Yeah,
miss that so much.
exactly. And I continue to be in choirs. I'm still in Voices of Unity. Right before,
Oh, cool.
yeah, right before COVID, I was singing with Voices of Unity, right? So
Oh,
I
wow.
still am there, like with the whole choir thing, which I love doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's a spiritual practice. Painting is a spiritual practice. And I guess when you add the spiritual to it, people think of religion, or they want to think
Yes.
of it in a way that connects to religion, where it's really about you and God, energy, universe, how you one on one, right? And the relationship you have, right? And from that relationship, how you live your life. And I think getting connected to who you are from within really does support your connection to God, really supports how you live your life outwardly. And yeah, and that's the thing. And we run and we have so many things we're doing that, when do we really get to connect with that? And so I talk about the spiritual practices from that perspective, because that's when, right?
Well,
you
exactly. And I encourage many people I talk to, that just giving yourself the opportunity to be still and just breathe. Don't do anything else.
right.
Just
So
breathe and recognize, and that being in the present moment is a gift, and that we want to be able to acknowledge that gift and surround it with the beauty of what it is. And I think so often we hurry through things, and and we don't take time. I know this is the biggest lesson I'm having to work with in my own life is that, when you have aspirations to do a lot of things, and wear a lot of different hats, you tend to not take time. And I think a lot of us suffer from that. We hurry from, getting up in the morning, and we rush to get to a job, and then we rush home to make dinner, and we rush to do this. And we very seldom just allow ourselves, which is a hard thing for me, to just do nothing.
It's so hard that the other day when I did nothing, right, I felt guilty about doing nothing, right? And
Yep.
that's what's
There's your negativity just tapping you on the shoulder.
I did nothing today and I feel so terrible about doing
I know.
And she's like, what is wrong with you, right? She thinks that is
Why do we do that to ourselves? I mean, I do the same thing. I took a day on Saturday, did nothing, and the guilt and the negative thoughts, which I have to pretend I'm shooting them with a gun. I'm serious. I sometimes make a picture of an elephant gun shooting these negative thoughts that are judging me.
Yeah.
And it's useless. We all deserve doing nothing time.
Right, we get to do nothing, right?
It's okay.
Yeah, I feel okay about it, right? But really,
well, I mean, if we really truly realize, and this is what I have to tell myself, is that it's in those places where we're doing nothing that amazing thoughts and feelings can arrive, because we've given ourselves space.
And I talk about that from like a doing versus a being perspective.
Yes.
Because we're always doing, right?
Yes.
Doing. And
yes.
Spaces, as you said, of doing nothing is a space of being. And from that,
exactly.
Being, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, and it takes something though. If you're a person that's used to doing, and always in activity and always, and that was me, always, right?
Oh yeah,
doing a whole lot of stuff, right? Then there was COVID, which kind of settled us into, oh, wait a minute, there's nothing to really do. You got to shift up your whole way of being, right?
Well, see, for researchers, that became the opposite. Science and medicine went into this huge, it brought back memories of being in the HIV epidemic. It really triggered me, seeing all the deaths. It reminded me of all those people I witnessed dying in the 90s. And it really triggered me and really has given me great pause to say, am I using my abilities to the best service of what's possible? And I have to say that still is a question I am keeping to focus on, giving out to the spirit, to the divine energy. I always call it, sweet spirit for me, to give me guidance, because I do feel a sense of a lack of clarity. I started a YouTube channel a couple of years ago, but it didn't feel the right idea. And now I find I'm getting a little more clarity that it really has to be about promoting kindness for myself and kindness to others, no matter what their energy is. And that's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
To find kindness in the places where kindness is not offered back. And I think that is where we all, well, myself it's hard for me to let go when an unkind thing has been done to me or said to me, or it makes a physical
Mhm.
sensation in me. And so how can I shift that and offer kindness back despite the energy disconnect? So I think that's where I'm headed.
Yeah, I think, and you know what, it is really just about going for it, because I've been doing this show for like 2 years. All of a sudden,
Wow.
2 years, all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
And I just started doing it. And in the beginning, every week I was like, so why am I doing this, right? And I would
Mm,
have to convince myself or come up with like why. And then I had to say, whatever you do, it is enough, right? And
exactly.
and just really walking through, why do I do it? Why am I here? What's the contribution? As you say, we always want to be of service in some way and be able to contribute to
Yes.
supporting people. And like I say,
Yes.
am about the joy and living my best life. And I've had a lot of things happen, over these past, like everyone. But,
Yeah,
just like having people still be able to get those moments of joy, right? It's like
exactly.
what I'm looking at. And I say it really is in the consistency of our spiritual practices, what I call them, the consistency of sitting still, the consistency of doing something
Yes.
that brings you that moment of joy. And I say moments because it comes in moments, but I have a lot of moments, right? Because of the practice of when something happens, going there and processing it. But it's over years you learn how to do that. It's not automatic that we
Mm,
understand the whole shift. The shift is a practice. It's a
yes.
constant, continuous
Exactly.
practice, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, and so
It's almost like you have to allow that, before the negative energy would get absorbed by me, and then I would kind of mentally stew about it. What did I do? Why was that happening? Blah, 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 blah. And then I would reverse it and say, oh, there's such a blah, 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 negative person. Then I would and then I thought, you know what? I'm going to stop that.
Mhm,
I'm going to surround them mentally with love,
mhm,
offer a quiet, silent wishing of goodness and health
mhm,
and well being for them, and let it go. And it's gotten easier. It's
mhm.
still, it happens.
Takes
You
a
think
moment,
that
yeah,
it
yeah,
does. And
yeah.
you really just have to embrace it and offer it up when it happens, because we're human beings and conflict happens all the time. All the time. Workplace, just walking around on the streets of New York,
Yeah.
getting a cup of coffee,
Mhm,
conflict with yourself.
mhm,
I didn't do this, I didn't get that done, judge, judge, judge. And
mhm.
so you really are right. It's about a practice.
Okay. It's about the practice, and the
It is.
practice is different for each one of us,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just finding what works for you. And like I say, I call it a spiritual toolkit. I got a lot of things in my little box,
Which is
and
wonderful.
yeah, and some things work at sometimes this might work now and different things, but having a lot of things to go to, right?
Yes, and
Um,
yeah, that's what we do for chronic pain patients. Sometimes this won't help. Sometimes the pill's not helping. Let's try some self hypnosis. Let's try some meditation. You sometimes just putting on running water to sounds. I mean, you have to have a lot of choices, because we aren't the same every day.
exactly. We are not. And
You
like I
know?
said, every day you wake up, the world's looking different too, right?
Yeah.
And also, it just came to my mind. I think about how they say like there are a million thoughts that's going around us over and over.
Oh yeah.
And which ones do we latch on to? Which ones, do we hold on to? Which ones do we like focus in on? And it,
Exactly.
and I always talk about how you could get a once you start going negative, you go down that hole. Oh my
Oh,
god, oh my god. And now it's like, oh, if you could just say one positive thing, right? To keep like pull you up out of the hole, right? One positive thing, right? And that takes a lot because once you swirl down into negativity.
and what's hard is sometimes you're not even aware of the negative messages that you carry on. They're so ingrained
Exactly.
in you, in just how you talk to yourself, that you really have to go, am I really saying that to myself?
Once you realize, right? Because he said, as you said,
Exactly.
with no awareness of it, it becomes
Oh,
what you do, right?
you it's hard to combat it. You feel, I think sometimes for me, because I'm not someone who immediately recognizes how I feel about things, it
Mhm,
takes me a bit,
mhm,
and I will just feel paralyzed.
mhm,
I'll feel this paralyzed kind of numb feeling. I'm not feeling anything. And I've been in therapy for years, and she says, well, when that's happening, you're really feeling a lot.
mhm,
And that gives me like, that's a kind of like a sign now for me to do some things to help me ritually, like write freehand in a journal, or
mhm,
take a walk and see if I can get to the deeper sense of what is it I am feeling. Like I got a rejection on Friday for a grant I had written, which was something I've gotten like 3 rejections in a row
mhm. Right.
for my grants that I've written.
Mhm,
And they take a lot of time and effort, and you put a lot of hope on them. And, I got rejected. And so you say, okay, there's that negative part of you that jumps on the bandwagon
mhm,
and wants to reject you too.
mhm, mhm,
And then you have to wait a minute,
mhm,
recognize that there is a source of energy out there that wants you to have what is yours to receive.
mhm,
And that whatever this was not mine to receive.
mhm,
And I have to really embrace that there's something else that I'm here to receive that I've yet to uncover.
mhm.
So I have to do a lot of self-talk when those things
Right. Yeah,
happen.
and I think too, one of the things that I'm practicing also is when I talk to people, I want to say, okay, here's what you do. Step 1, 2, 3, jump here. Practicing, slow it down and let each person have what they have and not say shit, because out of loving and caring, you don't want to see them stay in the negative space, right? But
Exactly.
but that doesn't feel like you're listening to them, or it doesn't feel like you're there.
Well,
So
acknowledging that, you have to acknowledge,
where
I
they're at.
had to take I had to take a moment and acknowledge, okay, all right, I got rejected. Okay, I got rejected 2 other times. Just recognize that this is part of the process. I had to really talk to myself, but it takes a day where you're really feeling down, and you just have to tell yourself, it's not going to stay this way. I'm going to keep thinking of the things that I am grateful for, and recognize that I'm deserving no matter what. I'm deserving of everything that I desire, no matter what. I'm deserving of it. We all are deserving of what we desire. And
Um,
I have to remind myself of that.
mhm. Mhm.
And
All
it
the time, yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
all the time, because there's so many negative messages that are thrown at us from every direction.
Mm, mm, and
And
how we process, right? You know what you keep what keeps coming out from me under everything you're saying that feels very, very comfortable and simple is this gratitude practice.
oh yeah, I love
Because
my gratitude practice.
you can always, always, always find something
Oh
to be
yeah,
grateful for.
definitely. All I
And
have to think about is I have clean water that comes out of my faucet.
yes, something that simple as clean
Yeah.
water coming out, right? And so starting there and being able to use that practice is really a simple, easy way to support you in shifting, when
Oh
you're
yeah.
in that hole in the ship. I always so much like to talk about mental health because I think
Wow.
that we have, I mean, although it was always a crisis, we have more of a mental health crisis,
Oh yeah.
right? And one of the
We've struggled. Well, this is a problem because I've had to, in fact, this is something I was talking about with my directors at the hospital because, mental health is a challenge because I think everyone is wondering on some level, why am I doing the work I do? Why? Why am I spending this time, this effort? What's my purpose? The world is so uncertain and there's so many things happening, and in the medical field, you give so much of yourself to your patients, to the doctors that you work for, to the staff. I mean, it really, truly is uh, a challenge. And for the first time ever, we're not in community. You know, we're not in community. We're not bonding in small circles, either at work or small circles amongst friends or small circles amongst just a group of people who enjoy the same thing. So that's where we have the opportunity to be vulnerable, to reveal who we really are, what our fears are, what our hopes are, what our happiness is. And see, I'm one of those people who believes that talking aloud and sharing to others a sense of my vulnerable self is important to a small circle of people.
That's
And
why I love that you said that because I'm a part of the momentum community,
oh,
right?
wow.
And when you said that, I was like, oh my God, yes, community is so important, right?
Oh, gosh, yes.
And when we, during the pandemic, we had to go video, right? And it was great because you still had that sense of community. We still created this space where we were vulnerable, we could share and we could be with each other. But now it's time to get back and be with people, to give hugs again, to
Yeah,
and
I
then it's like such a sense of excitement about.
there's an energy
Yeah.
that we all give off to each other. There's an energy, and frankly, that is what really is so critical, that we're not energetically in the same place, in the same
Mhm,
room.
mhm,
So this is truly so important to energetically share with one another,
mhm,
be compassionate listeners. To sometimes you just need to feel heard,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
and sometimes you need people who understand your history a little bit,
Mhm, mhm,
who are journeying. We're not journeying life together in small circles that often. And to me, that is something I'm very much missing. I used to have a very loving work group that was so awesome. I feel like they're family. But that has changed in the past 2 years
Yeah.
tremendously. And
Mm-hmm.
never before have I had people share with me how mental health is a challenge for them,
So many.
and had to refer people to get support, to get into counseling, to get into talk therapy, to have the opportunity to say aloud to someone things that you feel fearful to share aloud.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it is scary to say, I'm not certain of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel scared about whatever, politics, my finances, my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with my partner, my children, my family. I mean, these are all so unstable right now.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, right, exactly.
And how do we find a sense of a way to console ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in that process of opening up to the fearfulness that may be there, or how do we shift that sensation of fear? For me, that's what I always think of, is how do I shift that sensation of fear to one of curiosity and
Mm-hmm.
hopefulness?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
And
easy.
that's what came over me was, yes, how do we support people in doing that? How do we
Yes.
help people? That's one of the goals. I want to support people in shifting from that space, right? But some
Yes.
of the things we talked about are like being in community, having a
Oh,
place where
yes.
you can go, where you feel heard, as you said, having and community is about connection and family and all of that, and a lot of that has been lost. So, and I think too that contributes to people being lonely, the the,
Oh, yes.
the mental health part, and how
Yes.
people um, because I would say for me, without all my spiritual practices, I could have been on the other side too. It's like a
Oh,
thin line, right? We
oh,
all have those
it's a
moments,
very
right?
thin line.
Thin line
Yes.
between this who's gonna fall on this side and this side. I always say,
Oh,
like,
without a doubt. I mean, you know, the ability, I'm an older person whose friends have pretty much. I had one friend pass away last October,
mm-hmm,
and then I had two friends who moved away.
mm-hmm,
And then all of my family lives in the South.
mm-hmm,
So all of a sudden, and then some of the friends that I have now gone into another more intense work, and I don't see them as often. So all of a sudden, where's the small group I used to be part of? It's
mm-hmm.
dissipated, it's gone.
God, yeah,
It's like, how do I reintroduce myself to another
another
group
group.
people? And I think this happens with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
I am definitely struggling. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have this lovely accountability group that meets on Sunday afternoons, and then
mm-hmm,
I have, some people who are coworkers who are really lovely that I'm getting to know more, and I'm having like a margarita night once a month. And so
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do some things,
Right, right.
it's in its very infant stage,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because at some point you want to be your vulnerable self.
Right. I feel so grateful when we talk about gratitude that I have my momentum community, right? And I have like different pods, I'll call different groups that I stay in touch with. At any moment, I can jump in a whole new community, in a whole new group of set of people. So the importance of community is really, really
Oh,
like one of the key things. So, I would invite everybody to come to Momentum, right? It's
oh
like,
my,
yeah,
yes. I mean, it made me feel curious too, because like I said, there's so little sense of where can you go and
Mhm.
have a safe space to
Yeah.
share your most vulnerable thoughts and feelings.
Mhm.
It's not like you're looking for counseling
Right. Mhm.
or anything like that. You're just looking for an opportunity to share your most humanness.
Right. And get support in moving to
Yes,
the next level in your life. And that's what I
exactly.
love. It's like a community of like minded people where you can go and be your authentic self and get the support to live
Yes.
your best life. So I am grateful for that community, and everybody's welcome to join that. Call me up,
No, our
right?
brains are wired this way. We
Yeah.
have these neurons, they're called the mirror neurons in our brain,
Mhm.
that allows us to be empathetic to a person's experience as they describe it to us and link our own experience to what they're sharing.
Mhm.
So, our brains, we are made to share
Mhm.
as humans. That's what we're made to do.
Mhm.
So, to not have the opportunities to do that,
Yeah.
we're not really expressing our full humanness.
That is so true. One of the things that I talk about with each person on the show is your spiritual journey. Give me a little bit. Did you grow up in the church and
Oh
as you
my
went
heavens, my spiritual journey. Oh my God. I was raised Catholic,
through?
but because I was a singer, I sang for, oh my heavens, you name it, every Protestant church that existed in
Mhm.
in my hometown, in the surrounding areas. I would sing for the Church of Christ. I sang for First Baptist. I sang for the Presbyterian Church for years in
Mhm.
their choirs, and so I would go in and sing and teach music for years. When I came to New York, I was really like ready to be on a journey. So I decided I wanted to get baptized. So I joined First Baptist down on 57th Street. Well, I got baptized, and that lasted about a couple of weeks because I can't handle judgment
Right.
of any kind. I can't handle it.
Mhm.
So then I was still searching, sang in the Catholic Church here in New York for many, many years.
Mhm.
And then a friend of mine knew that I was looking and said, you should try out Sacred Center.
Mhm.
And that's what led me to Sacred Center. And I was so enamored. I was like, wow, there's a lot of love in this room. And I didn't really know about unity or that type of a spiritual practice. But it truly, I have, I struggle. I struggle with formalized religion.
Mhm.
I struggle with that. And I've stumbled upon a ministry out of Atlanta that's been led by Andy Stanley. Because one of the things that I like about,
Charles Stanley's son.
yes,
Oh, okay.
shockingly,
I heard
shockingly.
of it because I think my sister or my brother told me about it because they watched Charles Stanley faithfully and
Well,
have
I
mentioned Andy.
so I have problems with Charles Stanley because he's so indoctrinated in, this is the Bible and it's this way. But what his son has done
Mhm.
is truly what I think is really along the lines of what I feel is something that's in alignment with how I feel, is that there's one truth:
Mhm.
love one another as the spiritual being loves you,
Mhm.
period.
Mhm.
Love yourself and love others as the spiritual being that exists loved you to bring you into this form. And to me, that is such a powerful message that if we could truly, and I think that's what I seek to do every day, is
Yeah.
how can I wake up every day,
And be that person.
offer, yes, and be that loving person to myself and to any person I encounter. How can I be that expression? And to
Well,
me,
I had something that came to mind when you said that. Recently, we talked about the common connection is love. The
yes,
love
it
is
is.
huge because
Oh, yeah.
what flows out, we always, in defining it, there's compassion in there, right?
Oh,
There
yeah.
is there's like love, there's peace, there's joy. Love branches out in all those things, right? And when we're
Yes.
out in the world, like you say, showing kindness, that leads all back to the universal thing of love. So how do we express love? We express love through our ways of being.
Exactly.
And it makes it feel like it's not this whole big mystery thing, love, right? In
No.
connection to how we're all connected in the world. If I love
Yeah.
myself and I love you, then that connection, right, is what we need for everybody. But how does that manifest? As I said,
Well, and I think that's where our challenge lies, is that how can we, because this is what I struggle with. I'm in a biracial relationship with a man from Africa. I have a family that's all from the South. So I'm crazy in love with him. And how do I love my family who has some racism that's kind of happening? How do I love my family who are supporters of the Republican Party? How do I love my family when they're saying things that I find hurtful when it comes to things that I'm sensitive about? How do I find a way to still love them, find a connection, despite the fact that we don't agree on certain things? And
tall
that,
order.
to me,
That's a tall
is
order.
the challenge. How do we offer that? And it's difficult, because there's judgment, there is this us and them kind of conversations, and those are things that I don't embrace.
And
I
it's
don't.
a long time though, and the beliefs that they have created
Oh,
based on that are their beliefs and what people believe. How do you get to even judge or change what they believe? So that becomes the real challenge.
oh yeah,
How you get to balance both, right? How
exactly,
you get to love your man over here and do what you do at the same time keep a relationship with your family, you know?
exactly.
So
Yep,
yeah, that is a challenge and
it is.
a
Yeah.
balancing act, right? Because it's not like in the next you're going to change their minds because it's been ingrained over the
Well,
years.
that's the problem, is there's this sensibility that it's like, why can't we just embrace that people are different and it's okay? In fact, difference to me, I love. I love different people. I love it that people do things differently. In fact, it was so funny. My boyfriend and I, he's from Gabon in West Africa, and we were watching this show that we like to watch called Kawa skits. I love them. And the woman is wearing her bonnet, her turban, and it's long, but she takes the money and she ties it into her scarf. I said, "Oh, wow, that's so wildly interesting." He said, "Oh, yeah, my mother would do that all the time. She put her money in her bonnet, in parts of the bonnet that were hanging down,
Mhm.
part of her headwear. I love that. I find that amazingly fascinating and wonderful. Um, but I don't think everyone comes to this with that kind of attitude. And I don't see it as differences. I just see it as curiosities and fascination.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm trying to think of that when it comes to things that are negative, such as some of the racist kind of behaviors that I have confronted with, and the pro Republican Party behavior and commentaries. I have to just, offer again my silent prayer of love and kindness
Mhm.
energetically
Mhm.
and choose to not engage.
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly.
It's just
That.
tough,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
But
know.
it's better to not get all worked up and engaged because you kind of think, what's the end result? And the end result is for you to be peaceful and loving and
Right,
and to
exactly.
get caught up in all that would take away from it, you know.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to say my stand-up comedy was inspired by you. I saw you at Gotham, and I was like, "Oh, let me take that class." And
Yes,
so it was so cool. And then COVID, I was out there, girl. I was
I
out
know you
there.
were.
I was about to do it. Then COVID, and then during COVID, I took improv.
Oh, I
So
love
that
improv.
was
That's where I live.
so really cool, right?
And
So I'm looking to do more improv, but I've been a little shy about being around a lot of people. You know, I'm still
really,
shy about like going out there.
yeah.
But I entered. We did improv online, so now they're opening up and they're going out.
Oh,
Well, what's
cool.
next for you creatively?
Well, creatively, I'm doing two things. I'm going to start, I've always written music. We sang one song that I wrote back when we were at Sanctuary. And I feel very spiritually driven to do some spiritual music. I was raised in the church. I sang in the church for years, but I really I really want to do something in the spiritual vein when it comes to music. Music, I'm not certain exactly what. I've always imagined an album that's called Work for Faith, because
Mm-hmm.
I do think that it is work in some ways that I do intentionally to deepen my understanding of my existence here, my purpose here. And I have a very I always have had a very deep sense of, in fact, the whole reason I think I have met the man that I'm seeing is I think my husband sent him to me. We
Mm-hmm.
both felt a spiritual connection, and truly we do feel that there's something deeper. I'm not sure why, but we're going on, we've been together for 4 years, and we're going on to our 5th year, and we're still feeling this very deep sense of connection. And
Beautiful.
I have a deep feeling of that, and I want to express it in music in some way.
Mm.
And I've always written music and lyrics. I've always had a sense of that, but I'm not certain exactly what that's going to be. I want to record some things maybe starting in the fall, but you know how it is. It's like,
Mm.
got to make space.
Yeah, gotta make space. Exactly.
And the thing is too, I love singing in partnership. For years I worked with a company, Play It by Ear, that was all improvisation. And truly, there were such amazing moments of improvised music that was nonverbal, just making sounds, that was so amazing
Mm.
and so moving. And it was just, to me, I miss that. I'm not sure how I can recreate something like that. There's a part of me that wants to write the grant that would support bringing together singers and musicians to do what we had done as an improvisational group
Mhm.
and make that happen again.
Mhm.
Because many times when we would improvise ideas from the audience, see, that's what I love. I love it when the ideas come from the audience. The one time we had someone give us they had stolen something and given us this story about stealing something from a store, and we turned it around and gave them a scene about being the piece of gum that was stolen in the
Mm.
pocket of the kid.
Mm.
So I have some ideas about maybe doing that. There's also some ideas of maybe a one-woman show. I've thought about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I did a 20-minute one woman show. There was
oh, cool.
at the pit they had this class a
Oh,
solo,
neat.
and so they had this thing called solo com. I did it.
And did you like it?
it was so cool. It was a day where they showed one woman solo pieces. So I did
Oh,
that. It was
wow.
really cool. It had me really look back into my life and give this whole story, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I have a 20-minute version. I could probably do it longer and longer, by just taking each piece. But yeah, go for that. It was really cool. I think that would
Yeah.
be
I
good.
did one small one with a pianist and a violin
Mhm.
with who was the music director of Sacred Center?
I was at
Tony,
Central.
Tony, Tony.
Oh, Tony, okay.
Tony he was helping me at the time, and I did a very small private show. So I have done some kind of an architect of that, but I'm so shy for some reason as a
And,
solo artist. I
okay.
feel a sense of shyness that I have to overcome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess once you just step into it, done. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool because one of my challenges as a stand-up comedian was material. I
Oh,
was
really?
yes,
Yeah,
I was
I think
like,
you would have tons of material.
you think, right? Somehow I have a block to where all that material is, right?
We could help you unblock that. We could help you
Yeah,
unblock that.
okay, great. I need to block all that material because I really enjoy doing it, right? And then what was funny for me also is I came up with, well, the lifestyle. Because you have to I go to sleep at 10 o'clock every night. How?
Well, that's part of the problem too, is the lifestyle is very late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
know what you
all of
mean.
that. Yeah.
It's
So
very late.
very
You're going
late.
on at 11, at midnight, at 1 in the
Yeah.
morning, 2 in the
Yep.
morning. I'm like,
Yep.
oh God, I gotta take a nap.
Right. But yeah, so it's nice to think about what's next creatively, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so wow, it has been really awesome having you on the show
Oh,
tonight.
oh, Grenetta, I
Really,
just love you to death.
I love you too, and
You are so awesome.
so excited that we got to hook up. How's Petey Doggy doing?
Oh, he's the love of my life.
Oh
My
wow.
my sweet Pete. You can see him right there behind me.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah,
So
he
cute.
is he is a saving grace in so many things.
Yeah,
Having
that's
a
good.
dog he's been wonderful.
That's
And
nice.
I can't tell you what a gift he was that you brought into my life.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Truly.
It was so great for us to be able to find him such a
Oh,
good place, you know?
listen, he has become the most loving dog. he now comes up to me and just gives me a little paw like, hey, could you love on me, please? Sure, I love on you. Okay.
Right. That's
So
beautiful.
he's been just amazing. I
That's
feel, you know, truly grateful in so many ways for so many things. And I think it's because of the gratitude tool that I have a list that whenever I feel really like I'm turning into the negativity a little too deep, I can always go to that list just to remind myself
absolutely.
of that simple gift of that sweet dog, of the
Mm,
simple gift of this relationship with Lewis, the
mm,
simple gift of just being in the world where I am right now, talking to you, such a beautiful face. I always love to see your smile and all of, and your hats. You wear some amazing hats. I tell you, seriously, you do. You wear some amazing hats, and I think it's just phenomenal. And I love it that you're doing this show, and I truly think that it just continues to tell people that you're not alone
yeah.
and that you're available to share and listen. And I think that message is so hugely
Yeah.
needed in so many places, that you should be on more than once a week.
Right now, that's what I can handle.
I
But
know it's a lot.
I am so grateful that you joined me tonight, and I'll call you so we could do brunch. Remember our Sunday brunch with the
Yes,
church, right?
you just name it. I'm a brunch girl. I'll be
Right.
there.
Okay. Thank you and love you, and I'll totally be
Thank
in
you.
touch. All right.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. I'm here every Monday night at 8 p.m. WEMS Radio Live. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitch. I will see you again right here next week at 8 p.m. But you can find me every day on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason and on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. And I'd like to leave you today with try the gratitude practice. When you find yourself in all these places that you may not want to be, think of one thing that you can be grateful for, and that will trigger a whole lot of gratitude, a new energy, and it will support you in shifting in that moment. I will see you again right here next week. Have a great